Tonight, as you close your eyes, we return to the late 1570s to the damp, echoing streets of northern Italy. The exact year is blurred in the dust of the archives. Some say 1574, some say 1578, but we know this much. A girl is born into a world of ink, paper, and paint. Her name is Fede Galizia. We are in or near Milan, in the Duchy of Milan, under Spanish rule. This is Counter-Reformation Italy. Bells toll, processions move through the streets, and art is a weapon of faith. Her father is Nunzio Galizia, a painter and designer originally from Trento, a city further north in the Alps, who has made his way to Milan. He isn't one of those grand fresco painters who cover church ceilings with armies of saints. He works smaller, more intimate. On his table lie tiny sheets of parchment, small copper plates prepared for engraving, miniature portraits barely larger than a locket, designs for book frontispieces and luxury objects. We don't know the name of Fede's mother. The records are quiet where her voice should be, but we can imagine her moving through this same space, stirring a pot in the kitchen while Nunzio grinds color in the workshop, and a small girl hovers in the doorway, watching. From the beginning, Fede grows up surrounded by details. Her father's world is not about grand gestures. It's about the perfect curve of a letter, the exact line of a nose in a miniature, the precise way light glints off a gold border. He teaches with actions more than words: how to prepare a panel, how to sharpen a quill, how to mix the black that isn't just black, but 100 shades of dusk. In the evenings, when the city quiets, the workshop gets even more magical. Flames in the oil lamps turn everything golden. The smallest things, the corner of a page, the edge of a glass bottle, catch light with surprising drama. This is the world Fede absorbs before she knows how to sign her own name. Most girls in late 16th century Milan are expected to learn a very different set of skills: sewing, managing a household, a little reading, maybe if their family is kind or ambitious. Painting is not on that list, but Nunzio is not just a father. He's an artist. He sees something in his daughter that doesn't fit into the usual expectations. At first, he lets her hand him brushes, help wash shells used as mixing palettes, fill little pots with water. These are safe, small tasks. But children learn fast, especially when they're hungry to imitate. One evening he looks down and sees it. On a scrap of paper, Fede has copied one of his tiny faces. The eyes are too big, the mouth a bit stiff, but the structure is there. She isn't doodling, she's studying. Nunzio could have laughed, or ignored it, or told her to go help her mother. Instead, he does something rare for his time. He teaches her. He shows her how to hold the brush closer to the metal ferrule, how to make a line thinner by using less pressure, how to build a face not from an outline but from planes of light and shadow. She listens, she tries, and she remembers. By the time Fede is around 10 or 11, she isn't just the painter's daughter. She's the painter's apprentice. Word of Fede's talent doesn't stay contained in the house for long. In the late 1580s, when she is thought to be about 12 years old, a respected Milanese painter and art theorist, Paolo Lomazzo, writes about her. He lists her among the notable artists of his time, praising her for her skill in imitating the best masters. Think about that for a moment. You are 12. You work quietly in your father's studio, and out there, a professional painter, someone who has never changed your sheets, never watched you spill paint on your own dress, publicly recognizes you as an artist. This is the first time history writes her in. Lomazzo's mention tells us a lot. Fede's work had already been seen beyond the family. Her skill was strong enough to impress people in a city full of artists. She was being talked about in the same breath as adult male painters. Milan at this time is a serious, religious, and highly political place. The Counter-Reformation is in full swing. The church is using painting as a way to move hearts and minds. Cardinals and bishops commission images that are clear, emotional, and devout. In this world, for a young woman to be so highly praised is extraordinary. As Fede moves into her teens and early 20s, she continues to work under her father's roof, but now as a recognized painter. Together, they probably collaborate on projects, frontispieces for printed books, small portraits on copper, ornate allegorical designs. Very early on, something else about her life path becomes clear through the silence of documents. There is no record of a husband, no mention of children, no marriage contracts. Later, when she writes her will in 1630, she leaves her possessions to relatives. Now we step into one of the most important events of her story. At a table sits Paolo Morigia, a historian, religious writer, and member of a clerical order. He is in his 70s. Across from him, easel set up, brushes prepared, stands Fede Galizia, about 18 years old. The painting she creates from this encounter is now known as Portrait of Paolo Morigia. It's oil on canvas, painted around 1595-1596, and today it hangs in the Pinacoteca Ambrosiana in Milan. Let's step inside it. At first glance, the portrait is straightforward. Morigia sits in a three-quarter pose, wearing a simple white garment set against a deep, dark background. But the longer you look, the more you realize how alive the room feels. His right hand rests near a book, the title visible, letters carefully painted. His left hand lifts a pair of round, metal-framed spectacles. The lenses are not blank circles. They catch and bend the light. In one of them, if you look closely, you can see the faint reflection of a window or the room's interior. It's a detail so small and so meticulous that you might miss it on a first viewing, but Fede didn't miss it. She put it there on purpose. Across the top of the canvas, in a band of text, an inscription once read something like, Fede Galizia, most modest maiden at the age of 18. Painted this likeness of Paolo Morigia at the age of 72 out of a grateful heart, in the year 1596. Even if scholars later questioned whether every part of that inscription is original, the idea matches what we know. Fede was very young. Morigia was much older, and she painted him as a thinking mind, not just a body. Look at his expression. His mouth is slightly pursed, the corners turned just enough to suggest a human being caught mid-thought. Not frozen in lifeless perfection, there is wit there and contemplation, and maybe a hint of pride. She renders the folds of his garment with gentle observation. No flashy tricks, just a steady hand and a sharp eye. For Fede, this portrait is more than a job. It's a declaration. I, a young woman, can paint the likeness of a learned man in such a way that you see not only his face, but his mind. In an era when women are often labeled as decorative, talents, good for flowers and small things, Fede steps right into the intellectual arena, literally painting one of its members. The little reflection in the spectacles becomes a kind of metaphor for her gift. Morigia uses the glasses to see the world clearly. Fede uses paint to make us see him clearly. And somewhere between the glass and the paint, the girl from her father's workshop becomes an artist in her own right. After Morigia, Fede's name continues to appear in writings of the time. He himself praises her in his own texts, mentioning how impressed others, like the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II, are with her work. Over the next years, she paints portraits of Milanese nobles and scholars, religious images for churches, allegorical works rich with symbolism. She and her father even collaborate on complex pieces like the double portrait of Jacopo Minocchio and Margherita Candiani, set in an elaborate architectural frame filled with allegories of justice and prudence. Her style shows a blend of influences: the detailed realism of Lombard painting, the refined precision of miniature work from her father, and a rising sensitivity to light and texture that will later shine in her still lifes. This is also the time when she begins to explore one of her favorite themes: women with a story to tell. Now we leave the scholar's study behind and walk into a darker, more charged space. It is the late 1590s. On the easel stands a large canvas. Fede has sketched the outline of a woman, centered, standing tall. She wears a gown that gleams with embroidered gold threads and jewels. Her hair is crowned with pearls and ribbons. At her side, an older woman leans in, eyes sharp, mouth close to Judith's ear, and below, in the shadows, lies the severed head of Holofernes, the Assyrian general who threatened Judith's people. This is Judith with the head of Holofernes, one of several versions Fede paints around 1596 and the early 1600s. The story of Judith has been told for centuries, a brave widow from the ancient city of Bethulia who risked everything to save her people. In many versions of this story, artists focused on the dramatic moment, the danger, the tension, the act itself. But Fede Galizia saw something entirely different. In her painting, the struggle is already over. The noise has faded. What remains is quiet strength. Judith stands calm, composed and deeply human. Her eyes don't show triumph. They show thought, reflection, and courage. Beside her, her loyal companion stands in stillness. Fede Galizia's scene isn't about conflict. It's about the weight of choice and the peace that follows bravery. She turned a story of battle into a portrait of conscience. Her message still speaks today, that real courage is not only what we do, but how we live with the choices we make. Look at this painting. Judith stands slightly turned, her body oriented to the left, her gaze drifting just beyond us. Her dress is a marvel, a bodice embroidered with gold, a skirt of richly patterned fabric, sleeves made of delicate, translucent white material gathered over a fuller undersleeve. Around her neck, a cascade of pearls gleams against her skin. Her hair is pulled back, adorned with glittering jewels and a ribbon. Behind her, a crimson curtain falls in heavy folds, framing her figure and pushing her forward into the light. To her right, her older maidservant leans in, face creased, eyes intent. Her hand grips the sack or cloth that partly conceals the gruesome trophy. And then there is the head. Holofernes' face is twisted slightly upward, eyes closed, mouth slack. His beard is thick, his features still strong even in death. Blood is minimal, enough to tell the truth, not enough to turn the painting into a horror show. The light moves deliberately across the canvas. It illuminates Judith's face and décolletage, her jewelry and the upper part of her dress. It grazes the maid's forehead and hand. It touches the forehead of Holofernes, just enough that we cannot ignore him. Background falls back into shadow. This is not Caravaggio's theatrical, violent Judith. This is Fede's Judith, still, controlled, composed. Why does this subject matter so much? Remember who's holding the brush, a woman in a city where women cannot join painting academies, cannot study from nude models, cannot easily sign big church contracts. When Fede paints Judith, she is painting a woman who walks into a male-dominated space, faces a man who has all the power, and uses courage, intelligence, and nerve to overturn the balance. You can feel the echo. Some art historians have suggested that Judith's face may even be a subtle self-portrait, a way for Fede to project herself into the role of the heroine. Whether or not that is literally true, symbolically it fits. Look closely at Judith's expression. She is not hysterical, not triumphant in a loud way. Her beauty is there, yes, but so is an underlying seriousness. She knows what she has just done. She knows what is at stake. She knows there was likely no other path. This is where Fede's female gaze comes in. In this painting, Fede signs her name on the blade, Fede Galizia. It's as if she is saying, this act, this courage, this story, I claim it. I put my name beside it. Fede's still lifes are the quiet heartbeat underneath everything she does. After the turn of the century, she paints compositions like a glass compote heaped with peaches, accompanied by jasmines or other delicate flowers, quince and apples arranged just so on a stone ledge, fragile blossoms leaning over a bowl as if the breeze has just passed. In these works, the background is often very dark, almost black. The fruit is rendered with microscopic care, tiny spots on the skin, slight bruises, the shine of ripeness. Leaves show insect bites or curling edges. It's not idealized perfection. It's observation. The same observational power we saw in the spectacles. The same precision that makes Judith's embroidery feel real. These still lifes are important because they show us Fede's discipline as an observer, her deep understanding of light on surfaces, her ability to turn everyday objects into almost sacred presences. Also tell us something about her life. Woman who spends hours studying the curve of a peach or the translucency of jasmines is someone who understands time, how fruit ripens, how flowers fade, how light moves. That sense of time is going to matter when we step into her late years. Now we are in another room in Milan, less cluttered than the scholar's study, more severe than the gilded world of Judith. A man sits or stands before a plain dark background. He wears a black garment and an immaculate, starched ruff around his neck. His hair and beard are gray, his features controlled but thoughtful. In one hand, he holds a human skull. This is Fede Galizia's portrait of a physician, painted around 1603-1605. Some scholars think the sitter may be Ludovico Sitala, a famous Milanese doctor who would later be known for his role during the plague. Others simply call him an anonymous physician. Either way, he is clearly a man of medicine and thought. The composition is simple but intense. The figure fills much of the frame. The background is a plain, deep tone pushing him forward. The ruff frames his face like a pale halo, setting off his features. His eyes engage the viewer, calm, alert, a little weary. The skull he holds is not an ornament. It is a memento mori, a reminder of death, of the fragility of the body, and of the ultimate limit of his profession. His hand grips it in a way that is both firm and respectful. The bone is painted with the same careful attentiveness she gives to fruit skins or pearls. The message is subtle but clear. I study the body, I fight illness, but in the end, this is where every journey ends. And Fede, watching him, paints that awareness into his eyes. This portrait feels different from Morigia's in mood. Morigia's portrait buzzes quietly with intellectual energy. Books, glasses, the sense of words being written. The physician's portrait is quieter, more meditative. By now, Fede is older. She has seen more of life, perhaps more of sickness and loss. She is painting a man whose daily reality is the balance between life and death. Artistically, the work shows Fede at full technical maturity. The face is modeled with refined realism. The ruff is a feat of repetitive precision. The skull's hollows and ridges are carefully observed, not stylized. Nothing screams for attention, but everything holds it. We move to the year 1630. Milan is not the same city it was when Fede copied miniatures at her father's table. The streets are heavy with fear, the plague, the same outbreak that will later be immortalized by writers like Alessandro Manzoni ravages the population. On June 21st, 1630, she writes her will. In it, she leaves her possessions to her cousin Anna Galizia and to a nephew. This is the last firm trace we have of her. Shortly afterward, she dies in Milan, likely a victim of the same plague that will define the year. We don't know where she's buried. We don't know who stood by the grave, if there was a marked stone, if someone whispered, "She was a painter," as the earth fell. History lets those details slip away, but her paintings remain. In Milan, the portrait of Morigia still looks at us over his spectacles. In Rome, in collections in Spain, in Florida, different versions of Judith still stand with her sword and her impossible decision. In various collections, the physician still holds his skull and contemplates the limit of his art. And scattered across museums and private homes, bowls of peaches and quinces still glow with impossible freshness frozen in time. Tonight, as you close your eyes, remember the small workshop where it all began. The child leaning over a sheet of paper, the father guiding her hand. The slow, dawning realization that this girl is not just passing time. She is seeing in a way few people do. Remember the scholar with his spectacles, the heroine with her sword, the physician with his skull, the fruit on the stone ledge catching light like a tiny sunrise. Remember that behind each of these images stood the same quiet woman from Milan, who painted all her life, who never stopped observing, who trusted that precision and truth could carry her voice across centuries. This film, this story, this masterpiece of observation is dedicated to Fede Galizia, to her patience, to her courage, to her steady hand, and to the way she taught us that sometimes the most powerful art is not the loudest, but the one that keeps looking when everyone else has already looked away.